Ladies and gentlemen, clarity begins when you silence the world and listen to yourself. That may sound simple, but in reality, it's one of the most difficult and transformative actions a person can take. Every day we are bombarded with voices, not just the noise of the outside world, but the voices of our past, our doubts, our fears, and the expectations others have placed on us. From the moment we wake up, our minds are cluttered with input, social media feeds, news updates, opinions from friends and family, to-do lists, deadlines, responsibilities, and pressure. All of it piles up like static, making it nearly impossible to hear the one voice that truly matters, your own. The truth is, most people aren't living their own lives. They're living lives designed by others, driven by the shoulds and oughts that were handed to them by society, by family, by the culture they were raised in. You should get a stable job. You should settle down. You ought to be grateful. You should stop dreaming so big. All of these messages come from somewhere else, and over time they drown out your own inner truth. And yet, without the ability to hear and trust that inner voice, you can never find the clarity that leads to real change. To silence the world doesn't mean you have to physically remove yourself from it. It's not about running away to a mountain or cutting off all relationships. Silencing the world is an internal process. It's the discipline of creating space, mental space, emotional space, so that you can reflect, question, and reconnect with who you are at your core. It starts with awareness. You begin by noticing how much of your life is lived on autopilot. How often are your decisions reactions rather than conscious choices? How often are your dreams really someone else's dreams? How often are you chasing something not because it fulfills you, but because you're trying to prove something to someone? When you begin to notice, you begin to wake up. You start to see how much of your energy has been consumed by trying to meet external expectations. And when you wake up to that, something powerful begins to happen. You begin to choose. And that's when clarity begins to take shape. It doesn't arrive like a lightning bolt from the sky. It emerges slowly, through reflection, through stillness, and through honesty. You begin to ask different questions. What do I really want? What makes me feel alive? What am I doing that drains me? What have I been pretending to enjoy? Who am I when no one's watching? These questions are not always easy to face. In fact, sometimes they shake you to your core, because they demand that you confront truth, the truth about your life, your fears, your regrets, your hidden desires. But without that confrontation, there is no clarity. And without clarity, there is no personal change. You can work harder, hustle longer, set more goals, but if you're not clear on who you are and what you truly want, you're just running faster in the wrong direction. Listening to yourself requires courage. It means being willing to be misunderstood. It means risking disapproval. It means going against the grain. But the alternative is a life half-lived, a life spent chasing validation instead of purpose. When you start to truly listen to yourself, you begin to align your actions with your values. You stop trying to impress and start trying to express. You stop looking for permission and start living with intention. And slowly, the fog begins to lift. You gain clarity. Not just about what you want, but about what you need to let go of. You begin to realize that some things you've been holding on to, some relationships, some goals, some habits, are not a reflection of your true self, but rather remnants of your past identity. And letting them go, while painful, becomes necessary to make space for the clarity you seek. Clarity is not just about addition, it's also about subtraction. It's about stripping away everything that isn't true, so that what remains is authentic and aligned. There's a certain peace that comes with clarity. It doesn't mean life gets easier. It means your direction becomes unwavering. Challenges still come, but you face them with a sense of purpose. Obstacles still appear, but you meet them with resolve. Distractions still try to pull you off course, but your inner compass is strong. That compass only comes from listening to yourself, deeply, honestly, without judgment. Most people avoid silence because they're afraid of what they'll hear. The noise is a distraction, a numbing agent, a way to avoid facing the parts of themselves they'd rather ignore. But if you want to grow, if you want to change, if you want to become everything you were created to be, you have to be willing to face yourself in the mirror of silence. You have to sit with the discomfort. You have to let the noise fall away. And you have to trust that your inner voice, the one that's been whispering all along, is wiser than all the noise outside. Clarity is a form of self-respect. It's saying, my life is too valuable to live on autopilot. It's choosing to live awake, to live aware, to live aligned. And that journey begins the moment you decide to turn down the volume of the world and turn up the volume of your soul. You may not have all the answers right away. That's okay. What matters is that you start listening. Because every step you take in the direction of your own truth is a step away from confusion, from regret, from living someone else's life. As you start to listen, you'll notice patterns. You'll see what lights you up and what drags you down. You'll remember dreams you buried. You'll feel emotions you've numbed. You'll recognize your own voice, not the voice of fear, but the voice of purpose. And as that voice gets louder, decisions become easier. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop needing everyone's approval. You begin to move with clarity, and that clarity gives you power. Not the kind of power that dominates others, but the power that comes from knowing who you are and what you're here to do. People will notice the shift in you. They may not understand it. They may resist it. But that's okay. Because once you've tasted clarity, confusion is no longer comfortable. Once you've heard your true voice, the noise becomes unbearable. And once you've seen the path that's truly yours, no other road will satisfy you. Silencing the world is not a one-time act. It's a daily practice. It's choosing again and again to make space for your own voice. It's creating moments of stillness in the chaos. It's asking yourself every day, what do I want? And being brave enough to sit with the answer. Some days that answer will come quickly. Other days, it will require digging. But the more you listen, the more you'll trust it. And the more you trust it, the more your life will begin to reflect who you truly are. Clarity is not just about what you see. It's about what you feel when you see it. It resonates. It energizes. It makes you want to move forward, even when the path is uncertain. Because when you have clarity, you no longer need certainty. You don't need all the details. You just need direction. And direction comes from listening, not to the world, but to yourself. Knowing why you want something gives your goals power and direction. It's not enough to want success or happiness or a better life. You must understand the reason behind the want. That reason is the fuel that drives persistence, the compass that keeps you on track when distractions, setbacks, and self-doubt try to knock you off course. Without a clear why, goals are just wishes. They're ideas that sound good, but lack the fire to endure the inevitable resistance that shows up along the path of personal growth and change. When your why is strong, your how becomes easier to figure out. Too many people spend all their energy trying to find the perfect plan, the perfect method, the perfect step-by-step formula to achieve their dreams. But they haven't taken the time to deeply ask themselves why they want it in the first place. And because they're unclear on their motivation, they start strong but fade quickly. They get excited, but that excitement dies when the effort gets hard, when things don't go as planned, when results don't show up immediately. That's what happens when your goal has no emotional foundation. It's like trying to build a house on sand. But when your why is clear, when it's rooted in emotion, in purpose, in meaning, then you gain access to a different kind of energy. You move with conviction. You don't rely solely on motivation because you're anchored by something deeper. Your why becomes the reason you keep going when others stop. It's the reason you get back up after failing. It's the reason you say no to distractions. Because that reason burns inside of you. And when you tap into it, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you become more determined, more focused, and more resilient. Your why is personal. It's not something someone else can give you. It can't be borrowed or copied. It has to come from within you. It has to connect with something real, something you care about deeply. That's why surface-level goals don't last. Saying you want to be rich, or successful, or admired isn't enough. Why do you want to be rich? What does success mean to you? Why do you want to be admired? What's the story behind that desire? When you start digging into those questions, you uncover the real source of your drive. And once you know what that is, you can align your goals with it. Knowing your why also brings clarity to your decision-making. It helps you say yes to the right things and no to the wrong ones. It keeps you from getting lost in comparison, because you're no longer chasing what looks good. You're chasing what feels right. You're not trying to live someone else's dream. You're committed to your own. That kind of alignment brings peace. It brings focus. It makes your journey more meaningful, even when it's challenging. Sometimes your why comes from pain. It comes from struggle. It comes from moments in your life where you felt powerless, overlooked, defeated. And you made a decision, consciously or unconsciously, that you would change things, that you would rise, that you would never go back to the version of yourself that accepted less than you deserved. That kind of why is powerful. It's rooted in experience. It reminds you of how far you've come, and it pushes you to keep growing. It becomes a mission, not just a goal. Other times your why comes from love, from a desire to give, to provide, to protect, to build a better life for your family, to be a role model for your children, to honor someone's legacy. That kind of why is equally powerful because it connects your goals to something bigger than yourself. It expands your vision. It raises your standards. It makes you work harder, not just because you want more, but because you want to be more, for the people you care about and the values you believe in. When you're connected to your why, you can endure what others can't. You're not afraid of hard work. You don't crumble under pressure. You see failure as feedback. You use rejection as redirection. You understand that discomfort is part of the process, and you welcome it because you know what's waiting for you on the other side. The strength of your why is what determines how far you're willing to go, how long you're willing to fight, and how much you're willing to sacrifice. Without a strong why, it's easy to quit. It's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to lose interest when the initial excitement wears off. You start making excuses. You start blaming circumstances. You start saying things like, maybe it wasn't meant to be. But when your why is clear, you don't need excuses. You find solutions. You don't wait for permission. You take initiative. You don't back down from difficulty. You rise up to meet it. Your why is not static. It can evolve as you grow. As your life changes, your perspective shifts, your goals mature, and so does your purpose. That's why it's important to reconnect with your why regularly. To ask yourself, is this still meaningful to me? Does this still inspire me? Am I chasing this because I want it, or because I'm afraid to let it go? Reflection is necessary. It keeps your why fresh. It keeps your drive alive. Many people chase goals without ever asking themselves what those goals are meant to fulfill. They believe that hitting the target will bring them happiness, only to get there and feel empty. That's what happens when your goals aren't rooted in purpose. You achieve the result, but it doesn't change how you feel because the goal wasn't connected to your true desire. That's why your why must come first. Before you set the goal, before you chase the dream, before you design the plan, you must get clear on what you're truly seeking and why it matters to you. Your why is your foundation. Everything you build rests on it. The stronger it is, the higher you can rise. It gives your goals meaning, your actions direction, your efforts consistency. It makes your vision sustainable because it connects your mind, your heart, and your soul. When all three are aligned, your progress becomes inevitable. You no longer have to force momentum. It flows naturally because it's being driven from within. That's the difference between inspiration and discipline. Inspiration is what gets you started, but discipline is what keeps you going. And discipline is fueled by a strong why. It's not about willpower alone. It's about having a compelling reason to show up every single day, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one's watching. That kind of consistency creates breakthroughs. It turns potential into progress. It transforms intentions into reality. The people who achieve meaningful success aren't always the smartest, the most talented, or the most connected. But they have something others don't. They have a reason that burns, a reason that refuses to be ignored, a reason that pulls them forward when everything else tries to hold them back. And that reason comes from within. It's personal, it's emotional, it's real. That's what gives it power. When you know your why, you no longer chase motivation. You create it. You generate it from the inside out. You become a source of energy, not just for yourself, but for others. Your passion becomes contagious. Your commitment becomes inspiring, and people start to wonder where your drive comes from. But they won't understand it unless they've done the same inner work, unless they've dug deep and found a reason that's stronger than their excuses, their fears, and their limitations. Your why is your anchor during the storm. It's your compass in the confusion. It's your fuel when the tank runs dry. And it's your light when the path ahead is dark. It keeps you grounded, but it also lifts you up. It reminds you that your journey matters, that your struggle has meaning, that your effort is not in vain, because you're not just working towards something. You're working for something. And that something gives every step, every setback, every sacrifice a purpose. Knowing why you want something forces you to go deeper than just desire. It challenges you to examine your values, your beliefs, your past experiences, your hopes for the future. It connects your outer goals with your inner world. And when that connection is strong, your life becomes a reflection of your truth. Not your fears, not your conditioning, not your past, but your deepest truth. And from that place, anything becomes possible.